So thank you all for joining us today for this parent meeting to discuss the information that we know about things that are going on during the shutdown. This information I'm going to share today is current as of today. I've made some updates, slight tweaks to what I'm saying over the course of the meeting based on information that I received since yesterday. I do want to again remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded and is going to be posted online on YouTube for those who are unable to attend. I do edit the meeting down to simply the slideshow presentation and end after that is done. So anyone who has their screen on, the only people that would be seen would be either me or Miss Sutton, as we are the only two who have our microphones unmuted. In terms of things I'm going to talk about today, I am going to talk a little bit about the graduation decision and what we know about that right now. I'm going to come back to a couple of items that have been discussed every time, but I think it's very important to continue to talk about Chromebook distribution and what we're doing at BCC. Talk about how we're handling incompletes for the third marking period. What the fourth marking period means in terms of grading, especially as we consider the decision that the Board of Education announced on Tuesday. Talk about summer programs and what we offer at BCC and what we know now about those summer programs. And also answer previously submitted parent questions. And actually that is only one question this time that I had that was a new question that we hadn't heard before. So the first thing is to talk about the decision for graduation. So on Sunday, May 10th, MCPS announced that all schools will hold a virtual graduation in early June with an in-person celebration later whenever the stay-at-home order is lifted and that there are no restrictions on larger crowd gatherings. So portions of that graduation, if you read that message, it sounded like everyone would have the same graduation. There's actually some clarification on that. It will not be the same exact graduation for every school. There will be portions of the graduation ceremony that will be common across all schools, such as the greeting from the superintendent, from the members of the Board of Education, the official language conferring degrees to students. There will also be one common keynote speaker for the entire system. Those are the things that are going to be common, along with a couple of other elements, including pomp and circumstance and some of the musical selections. Then after that portion is over, each school will actually transition into an individualized portion of the ceremony. And that portion for the schools will actually include some of the things that we would traditionally see in a BCC graduation. We're looking for an opportunity to make sure that the traditions and the things that happen at BCC and that people know have happened in past graduations are able to continue to happen. So we will have the opportunity to have student speeches. You'll hear some of our students speaking, the same ones that would have been speaking if we were in DAR Constitution Hall. You'll hear musical selections from our choir and from our band. You'll see actually the way we will do the roll call of student graduates is you'll actually see the students' pictures displayed and hear their names read aloud, and there'll be an opportunity for staff remarks in that. We are currently working on exactly what that program looks like. Our graduation committee met for the first time earlier this week, and we're continuing to work on that and pulling all of those moving pieces together that we're in charge of on our end so that we can make it, again, a special day for the students. So we're working on that program right now. An important piece of that we actually have heard from a lot of parents about is really how we're going to get items to students, such as the cap and gown or the tassels or the honor cords or the things they might have earned prior to graduation. So right now we are working on a plan for that. We don't actually have the caps and gowns in our possession yet. Our vendor doesn't even have the caps and gowns in his possession yet. But we do need to allow, once he gets them, which would be on Monday at the earliest, he takes the time to then put a label on each one so that we know which student is getting which cap and gown, because all he gets are boxes of, 125 smalls and 140 mediums and 100 larges. And so he labels all of them for us, and then we get them at school, and then we go through the process of creating, making sure that the students are matched correctly, that we have the proper tassels and cords in those students' bags. Anyone who's earned a medal or an award that we would typically provide for graduation have to go into those selections along with prior to distributing, and we will make sure that we have the actual program for our graduation ready so that we're able to distribute that. So we have a plan for that. We have some timelines and deadlines for ourselves in terms of that. The tentative week window for that graduation ceremony is actually between June 8th and 12th, which is about a month from now. So there is time for us to get all of those pieces moving and to make sure that students have everything that they need and that everyone is aware of that. I will continue to share information about what graduation is going to look like as we move forward and as I continue to know more about this. The next element is just to come back to something that I've talked about every week since I started doing these meetings, but to make sure that we really have everyone aware of the Chromebook and Wi-Fi distribution. We do have some students, although it is a steadily shrinking number of students who do not have access to Chromebooks or hotspots and are unable to access the instruction that we're providing or the assignments and the work that they need to do. So BCC is currently distributing Chromebooks and hotspots every Tuesday between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. We do have a relatively large stock of Chromebooks and hotspots there. And for the most part, we would be able to accommodate any request. If you woke up on Tuesday morning and your Chromebook wasn't working or your internet was suddenly not working, we would most likely be able to accommodate that request if you just showed up. But we do ask that if you know you're going to show up, if you realize on Sunday or Monday or Friday that you want to come the following Tuesday, we do ask that you try to contact your grade level administrator, just so we make sure. We would hate for anyone to show up and for us to not have the equipment that we need to give them. So that's a request that we're making if you know in advance. But again, if something happens day of and you aren't able to prearrange, feel free to stop by the school between 9 and 3 on Tuesdays, and we will do everything we can to make sure that you get a Chromebook or a hotspot if you need that. I also want to make sure that everyone is aware of the technical support number that MCPS is offering. That number is 240-740-7022. If you call, you actually leave a message in either English or Spanish, and then someone from that tech support line calls you back to help you troubleshoot. But that's an important first step if you're having issues with either the MCPS issued hotspot or a Chromebook that MCPS has issued, to call that technical support number, because they may be able to remotely help you with that rather than you have to take a trip or wait until Tuesday to come to BCC. So the next item I want to talk about is really an update of incompletes and how students resolve those. Just a reminder, I shared this last week, but seniors actually have to have all of their incompletes resolved by May 15th, which is tomorrow. And underclassmen actually have until next Friday, which is the 22nd. Earlier today, I actually asked the registrar to run a report for me. There are still many seniors who do not have incomplete resolve. So if you know that your child received an incomplete in the third marking period and you have a question about it, talk to your child about it first. But if you really don't know what's happening with that, feel free to reach out to your child's teacher with any questions about that. I believe the exact number was somewhere around 70 different grades for seniors that are incompletes. And the reason we need to have those resolved tomorrow is because seniors' last day is next Friday, and we want to make sure that we really have a clear picture of where seniors' graduation status stands before they are no longer with us officially at BCC. So we're trying to make sure we take care of that with a little bit of time to follow up if we have any questions or if there are any things that we need to do with that. In terms of the fourth marking period, I just want to go back to a reminder from MCPS about what the guidance for grades and what it will mean to earn a pass for the fourth marking period. MCPS did announce a couple of weeks ago that the only grades for the fourth marking period would either be pass or incomplete. And then they shared specific information about what constitutes a passing grade. And they have 4 criteria for that, and students must meet at least 2 of those criteria. The first criteria is completing at least 50% of all assignments. The second criteria is demonstrating understanding of concepts or applications of skills. The third criteria is consistently engaging in classroom activities, discussions, or ongoing communication with the teacher. And the fourth criteria is actually allowing the teacher to use their professional judgment based on everything they know about what the student has done and about the work that's been assigned, and really using that as an opportunity to benefit the student when it applies. There is a little bit of clarity that I need to provide in terms of how we are assigning grades at BCC. So if you happen to view my message on Sunday, you would have heard me say that we are not using the Z designation in the grade book. That actually has been, MCPS has changed that now. We are allowed to use a Z in the gradebook, so you may see your child show up with a Z in the gradebook, but it's important to know that no matter what you're seeing in the gradebook, if you're seeing a Z or if you're seeing a blank, that means that that assignment needs to be done. So it's important as you're looking at your child's grades, as you're looking at the portal and seeing what they have in the gradebook, it's important that you're asking questions about those grades that are either a Z or a blank, and if they're a 0, which would be as big a concern. So it's important that you're looking at that, but I just want to make sure you know that the Z, contrary to what I said on Sunday, the Z is now an option for grading. So the next part of that fourth marking period grade is actually a bigger discussion. On Tuesday, the Board of Education voted to allow students to choose how that final marking period 4 grade of pass would impact their transcript. And just as a kind of a review of how this might have happened in the past, for the first semester, the first marking period grade and the second marking period grade were put together and determined a student's transcript grade, which is what determines their cumulative GPA. So if a student earned a B in the first marking period and a C in the second marking period, they would earn a B on their transcript. And there was a table that gave us those calculations. That table didn't take into account what would happen if the grade was a pass for one of those marking periods. So MCPS and the Board of Education, they voted and decided on how that would look, and they actually are going to give students 2 options. So I'm going to share with you the chart that was shared. I'm going to talk through what's on here so that you can kind of see and hear what the thinking behind this was. So really, as we think about what the rationale was, again, we're looking at ways to give students the benefit of the doubt. So the idea is that the students would be able to improve their GPA, that the work that they did for the third marking period will be recognized, but we also will allow them to have a final grade than what they earned during the third marking period. We're hopeful that students will be more motivated to work to earn that passing grade during the fourth marking period, and that they could have some inspiration if they feel like that the third marking period was not really the best work that they could do. And then finally, to really have an opportunity for them to have a letter grade on their transcript if it's to their benefit. Otherwise, the grade is just reported as a pass. So the way the grades will be calculated, we'll take that third marking period grade and the fourth marking period pass, and the final result on the transcript would be one of 2 options. It would either be the 1 letter grade higher than they earned in the third marking period, unless they earned an A, in which case they would maintain an A, or the transcript grade would just be a pass. The important distinction there are 2 things. One is that it is a case by or course by course decision that students get to make. So they get to make that decision based on how they perform in a given course. It's not a decision they have to make for all their classes. The second thing that's really important to consider in this is that the grade of pass, if that's the final grade that's on the transcript, does not factor into a cumulative GPA. It doesn't have a negative impact or a positive impact. It just has no impact. And that's something that I did note in the board discussion that all courses for the spring semester will have an asterisk, if you will, and a footnote about the COVID-19 shutdown. So that's important to know. But going back to something I said several times before, there are, we are not the only school system in the nation dealing with this. So all colleges, all universities are going to be aware that any student who has grades for a spring 2020 transcript was impacted in some way by the school shutdowns or however their instruction might have been. So every school would be impacted by every student. So the last item I have before I move on to answering the parents' question that was asked is a question about, or just information about the local summer programs that we offer at BCC. So BCC actually has a strong tradition of offering a multitude of local summer programs. 9th grade academy, 10th grade academy, IB academy, different bridge support sessions, things like that. At this point, I don't know if many of you got to see the county executives conference today. At this point, we do not know what our summer might look like. We are, hopeful that we can be able to return to the building and that we can have some normalcy back. But at the same time, I would be less than honest if I didn't say that I think it's doubtful that we will for the summer. So we're taking all of those local summer programs and we're actually asking the people who run them to really think about how they might be able to transition that to an online platform. Some of them are very easy, from my side of it anyway. Some of them are a little more natural fit to a transition to online learning. Others of them are a little more challenging, but we are looking at that and we'll be sharing information as we have more of that and as we're interested in it. One thing that is important to know is that there is an online honors health program that we do offer at BCC that is being offered. We actually increased to 2 sections of that. I know that a lot of parents have signed up for it already. The 2 sections are full and that there are people who want additional programs. We're evaluating the feasibility of offering a 3rd section, but at this time, I do not know if that will run. So the final thing that I want to talk about is really the question that I have from the parent, and that was a more general, what might instruction look like in the fall if online learning is still going on? So I don't know that I have an exact answer for that. It definitely is, it's my hope that we don't have to answer that question, very honestly. But if we are still in online learning in the fall, I really believe that there will have to be some more planning, some more thought, and some more professional development for teachers, and also some thoughts about what it's going to mean for students as we transition to that, because we are going to be working with really new material and a totally new set of circumstances, and we'll have to really think about how it can more closely align with what we might do in a traditional school. Again, with the full realization that anything we do online is never going to fully replicate, a 7:45 a.m. to 2:30 every day, kids in class for 45 minutes with every teacher rotating through like that. That's not ever going to be something that we could replicate. But really the hope that we're having a little more rigor, a little more consistent check-in times with teachers and live instruction, those things would be my hope. Again, but not something that I know specifically that plans have been made for, or that we're looking to have. So that is that. So the last thing I want to leave you with is what I leave with every week. So we have about 4.5 weeks of school left. The last day of school for MCPS will be Tuesday, June 15th. And Monday, June 15th, I'm sorry, I said that wrong, Monday, June 15th, which means that we have plenty of time for students to either increase the level of work they're doing or have questions. We have plenty of time for parents to have questions. So I want to make sure that you know who you can contact. As always, the first line of contact could be your child's teachers. But if you have other questions, you could reach out to me, or you could reach out to your child's grade level administrator. That's Mr. Levine for 12th graders, Mr. Nelson for 11th graders, Ms. Sutton for 10th graders, and Dr. McGarrow for 9th graders. All of our addresses are available on the BCC website in the staff directory. And also, all of the email addresses for teachers are available on the staff directory. So I appreciate all of you attending this afternoon. At this time, that's going to conclude our meeting. I hope that you all have a great afternoon, and based on what I've been told, get a chance to go outside and enjoy a little bit of the nice weather. I haven't made it out there yet, but I'm going to try. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a great day.